I want you to understand history doesn't just repeat itself. History is repeating itself. And you are at the beginning now of something extraordinarily dangerous. And I will tell you that we will make the Germans look like rookies in the end if we allow this to happen. The whole world is on the edge. China is on the edge of economic disaster. If they go down, just the supply line problem that we have will be enough to knock us flat. And there will be somebody there who says, I can rebuild it better. I can build back better. This is the Biden-Harris administration. This weekend, on Friday, if you really want to bury something, you release it on Friday afternoon. Last Friday, they talked about ESGs and the new banking system. This time, they issued the first ever national gender strategy to advance the full participation of all people, including women and girls, in the United States and the world. Wow. Now, you would think they wouldn't want this buried, right? Why would you announce something, the first ever national gender strategy? Now, it does include women and girls. I don't think we need to stereotype. Well, I mean, exactly how do you define women and girls? I'd like the Biden-Harris administration to answer that before we go on, but they won't. Here it is. President Biden and Vice President Harris believe that advancing gender equity and equality is fundamental to every individual's economic security, safety, health, and ability to exercise their most basic rights. It is also essential to economic growth and development, democracy and political stability, and to the security of nations across the globe. Ensuring that all people, regardless of gender, have the opportunity to realize their full potential is therefore both a moral and strategic imperative. Wow, that sounds great, doesn't it? Yet no country in the world has achieved gender equality. And we are at an inflection point. Oh my gosh, Build Back Better. The COVID-19 pandemic has fueled a health crisis, an economic crisis, and a caregiving crisis that have magnified the challenges that women and girls, especially women and girls of color, have long faced. You know, like being fired because you won't take the vaccine, ladies. You lady nurses, you gotta go. It has exacerbated a shadow pandemic of gender-based violence in the United States and around the world. These overlapping crises have underscored that far too long the status quo have left too many people behind. The moment demands that we build back better. It requires that we acknowledge and address long-standing gender discrimination and the systematic barriers to full participation that have held back women and girls. It requires that we bring the talent and potential of all people to bear to face the challenges of our time. That's why the Biden-Harris administration established the White House Gender Policy Council, charged with leading the development of the first ever national strategy on gender equity, which sets forth an aspirational vision and comprehensive agenda to advance gender equity and equality in domestic and foreign policy, and demonstrates that families, communities, and nations around the world stand to benefit. The strategy identifies 10 interconnected priorities. So, if you believe in protecting women, you have to believe in all of these things because they're all connected and they're all a priority. 1, economic security. 2, gender-based violence. 3, health. 4, education. 5, justice and immigration. 6, human rights and equality under the law. 7, security and humanitarian relief. 8, climate change. 9, science and technology. 10, democracy, participation, and leadership. These priorities are all linked and must be tackled in concert. The strategy also adopts an intersectional approach that considers the barriers and challenges faced by those who experience intersecting and compounding forms of discrimination related to gender, race, and other factors, including sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, disability, age, and socioeconomic status. This includes the addressing of discrimination and bias faced by Black, Latino, Indigenous, Native American people, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, and other people of color. Do you see where we're headed here? Do you see where we're headed? Any protected group is going to now get special privileges under the economy to make sure that we are addressing, let's say, climate change in the Aleutians, because the Aleutians have Pacific Islanders. And they've always been downtrodden, so we need to really work on climate change there and maybe not so much in your white town. Let me tell you something. If you think that these people actually care about women, let me remind you of Loudoun County, Virginia, where they tore a father apart and made him look like a madman terrorist because he was trying to defend his daughter who was raped. And the reason why they didn't want to bring up the rape is because it's from a gender fluid individual that was wearing a skirt who is a boy who went into the girl's bathroom to rape her. They don't care about women. If they did, I didn't see any of them on the ground in Afghanistan. They don't care about people who are actually being persecuted because of their sexual orientation. How do I know that? I didn't see them on the ground saving homosexuals in Afghanistan or in Syria or in Iraq. We did. Where were you? They also want to build on the historic Affordable Care Act and continue to expand and improve health care globally. Defend the constitutional right to safe and legal abortion in the United States. And address the pernicious effects of health inequity, including by addressing the maternal mortality crisis in the United States. They've got all kinds of things here that are going to make sure that they have, through the American Rescue Plan and through ESGs and through the government and their public-private partnerships, to inform and educate and then make sure it's executed, to inform our ongoing and future efforts to advance gender equity at home and abroad. The strategy calls for continued accountability, consultation, and engagement as we work towards our collective vision for gender equity at home and abroad. Its implementation will guide strategic planning and budgeting, policy and program development, measurement and data, and management and training. We look forward to partnering with Congress, local, state, tribal, territorial governments, civil society, the private sector, foreign governments, and multilateral institutions to drive progress towards the objective outlined in this strategy. I didn't have enough time to go through all of the objectives in the strategy, but you can read it yourself at whitehouse.gov. It, again, was released last Friday, late afternoon. I want to share with you the fact that the family is under attack. That the sacredness of being a man and the sacredness of being a woman is under attack. And it's under attack to do one thing: destroy the family. That's it. This is the most evil plan I have ever encountered, to destroy the family. Some organizations like BLM have that in their manifesto, to destroy the family. This is now going to be implemented by the federal government through our banking systems and ESG and through everything else. It will touch every aspect of your life. So I'm going to go through a few things that are true. And if you disagree with them, well, then we can still be friends. But I don't think we're on the same side. You may be fighting for the wrong side. And I want to share what I hold to be self-evident truth. I'll give you 90%, 95%. Agree at 95%? Great, let's fight together. If not, we should part ways. Now, if one of your objections to what I'm about to tell you is that there is no God, see if you can work around that objection. I truly believe there is one, and we need to implore him for his help. But if that is your objection, see if you can't get around that to go with all of the other truths that I'm about to speak. All human beings, male and female, were created in the image of God. They were created for a purpose, male and female. Each has a divine nature and a destiny. Gender is essential characteristic of that eternal identity and its purpose. You were born a male or a female for a reason, and there are only two genders. God commanded at the beginning to multiply and replenish the earth, and that still should be our goal. It still is in effect. And procreation and the powers that it takes to procreate should only happen between a man and a woman who are lawfully wedded as husband and wife. Have I gone too far now? Which means that because that is a sacred power to procreate, and it should be happening between a man and a woman lawfully wedded as husband and wife, it means that that life that you create is divinely appointed, and thus all life is sacred and abortion is murder. Husband and wife together have a responsibility to love and care for each other and their children. Parents together have a sacred duty to rear their children in love and righteousness, to provide for their physical and spiritual needs, and to teach them to love and serve one another, to observe the commandments of God, and to be law-abiding citizens wherever they live. That is the responsibility of mothers and fathers, and they will be held accountable if they fail to discharge those obligations. The family is sacred. It is the basic, fundamental building block. Thus, a marriage between a man and a woman is essential to not only God's plan, but to the universe. Children are entitled to be born within the bounds of matrimony, to be reared by a father and a mother who honor their marital vows with complete fidelity. And happiness in family life is found most likely in the following of the Judeo-Christian values and principles. Successful marriages are established and maintained on principles of faith, prayer, repentance, forgiveness, respect, love, compassion, work, and wholesome recreation. As a dad, I am responsible to provide the necessities of life and protection of my family. My wife is primarily responsible for the nurture of our children, but we help each other on both of those things as equal partners. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't special cases. Of course there is, and extended families should lend support when needed. But the disintegration of the family, the destruction of the family, will bring upon us as individuals, our communities, and our entire world calamities beyond your imagination. That's why I believe family first. You must stand up for these principles first.